if you were just coaching from your ADHD experience, there's a danger that you would assume everyone's ADHD is like yours or your family's, and that the tried and tested methods that have worked for your family or for you are going to work for everyone else. Now, when you do coach training, we are taught, as you know, Sharon, to really get curious about the person and find out exactly what it is they need, never to make assumptions.
Welcome to the ADHD Families Podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Collin, an award-winning credentialed ADHD coach and consultant and mama and wife to a very ADHD family. I am seriously obsessed with making life easier for people with ADHD and those that support them. My business, The Functional Family, provides life-changing support and strategies for ADHD. I particularly love anything that saves time, decreases conflict, and creates space for fun. Do you want a life with your beautiful family that is more functional, fun, and full of joy? Let's explore together the wonderful and sometimes wacky world of family life with ADHD in the mix. Welcome to another episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. Today I have an incredible interview for you with the absolute amazing Michele Toner. Now, I'm fangirling a little bit in this interview because Michele Toner is actually my mentor. She is the coach of all coaches in terms of the ADHD, in the ADHD coaching world. She's actually the first ADHD coach in Australia. And she's the one that's responsible, that kind of shined the light for all of us who support beautiful people with ADHD to become coaches. Now, in this interview, we talk about a little bit about Michele's journey, why she got into it, what is ADHD coaching, how does someone become an ADHD coach, what people should look for when they are looking for an ADHD coach, and obviously the benefits of seeing an ADHD coach. We also talk about what her favorite thing is about being an ADHD coach, and she gives some really amazing examples of client successes in there. She is an inspiring lady, so inspiring, in fact, that she actually has an Order of Australia medal. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her story, and you are going to be as in awe as I am with this incredible lady. Let's get to it. Thank you for being here today, Michele. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Well, I'm excited too, and I'm just thrilled that you invited me. So thank you for inviting me onto your wonderful podcast, Sharon.
Now, because you're my mentor, I've got so many questions that I want to ask you. But first of all, I thought we'd start with, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so what I do as an ADHD coach is work with really inspiring people to be their best selves, and in doing that, to overcome some of the challenges associated with ADHD. And sometimes those challenges have been made harder by the society that we live in and by the situation that they're in. But we sort of address those, but really we focus on the strengths and all those wonderful qualities that people with ADHD have to help them live their absolute best lives.
Oh, I love that answer. And I knew that the people at home, we often get asked, what do ADHD coaches actually do? Can you tell me a little bit about, what ADHD coaching is?
Well, yes. So essentially you meet with a coach, and a coach is not a therapist. A coach is like your new cheerleader, professional. There's no hierarchy, so it's your professional partner to work with you. You have regular meetings. In my case, I meet people fortnightly. Set some goals at the beginning of what it is you want to achieve or what it is you want to change in your life. And then we have regular meetings where we brainstorm your way of doing those things, because everyone's got their own brand of ADHD and their particular situation that they're in. And, reading a self-help book only goes so far. So we tailor make it, customize it for you. And then you go away for 2 weeks. The client goes away for 2 weeks to really work on those actions that we've come up with. And each time we meet, we tweak them. we add to them, we consolidate them, or we throw them out if they haven't worked, so that your client develops this great toolbox of things that work for them. And so that they never forget them, we create a personal procedures manual so that toolbox is recorded for their convenience.
Oh, love this. Now tell me, how did you get into ADHD coaching?
Well, how did I? I have family members with ADHD, and I was, happily working in a business with my husband, and then realized that I needed to find out more about ADHD, and so I went back as a mature age student to study ADHD. I was a teacher originally. I did my master's and then my PhD. And while I was doing this study, this topic of ADHD coaching came up in my research, and particularly for adults who don't have like a friendly parent like you are and all of your members are, to help them learn the skills they need. And so I decided to pursue ADHD coaching, and I trained as an ADHD coach in 2009, and haven't looked back since then.
So I'm always a bit in awe of what you've done for this industry. Now, I just want to emphasize to our listeners at home that when you qualified, like, you would have been perhaps the only ADHD coach in Australia. Can you tell us a bit about what that was like?
Yes, well, it was actually quite exciting. The industry was well established in the States, but in Australia, it not so. And so what I had to do was actually sell the concept of coaching to the medical profession so that doctors and pediatricians would feel comfortable recommending coaching as part of the multimodal treatment of ADHD. And so I was quite fortunate because I already had good relationships with the medical profession because I've worked as an ADHD advocate for ADHD Western Australia for 30 years. And so people knew me and respected me. And so they, it just took one or two doctors to trust me with one client and then another client, and then the word spread. And well, now, so really, it was just convincing one doctor at a time. And now I think I've mentored over 100 of wonderful ADHD coaches like you, and I'm so proud to say that doctors actually really seek out ADHD coaches. And that's not because of me, it's because of all the fabulous coaches there are. And it's even mentioned in the ADHD national guidelines as a treatment that people could pursue.
Oh, I've got so many questions. Okay, so how would, so say for someone at home and they're thinking, perhaps they've got some ADHD in their family, or perhaps they have ADHD themselves, and they're thinking, I want to become an ADHD coach like Michele and Sharon. How do they do that?
Well, that's a great question because anyone can call themselves an ADHD coach. And so if you are interested in coaching, I would strongly recommend that you do proper specialist ADHD coach training. And, I left university with a PhD in the area of ADHD, and I thought, I don't really need to do coach training. I know ADHD. But I reached out to Nancy Ratey, who was one of the first ADHD coaches. And she's John Ratey of Hallowell and Ratey's fame. She's his ex-wife. And she said to me, you absolutely need a qualification, Michele. So I studied to become an ADHD coach with ADCA. So I would really encourage people who want to be a coach to do specialist coach training with an ADHD training school that is accredited with the International Coaching Federation. So ADHD coaching is not regulated, but the International Coaching Federation is a governing body that has a code of ethics and sets international standards for coaching.
This is a really important point because, I think it is a little bit of the Wild West out there. And I want to make sure that people who are looking for an ADHD coach, are seeking one out that has had the right training. Now, you have an incredible website where you say all the you have a directory of all the qualified coaches that are qualified with the ICF. Do you want to do a bit of a shout out to that website?
Yes, absolutely. And that website really arose because doctors kept saying to me, um, we want qualified coaches, and I had this list that was circulating that was always out of date, obviously. So the website that I've set up is I forget the link, but we can put it in the notes, I'm sure.
Yep,
It's
it's
ADHD Coaches Australasia dot something.
.com.
I don't know.
I
It's
think so.
not
Yeah,
.com. I do
I'm going to have a
apologize.
little. No, I'm going to have a little look because I think it would be really helpful, um, for people to have to know that that directory is there to search and to get support. Now, how important is? Oh, just I've got the link here while we're on the line. It's www.adhdcoachesaustralasia.online.
Dot online. Yeah. ADHD Coaches Australasia dot online. It's really important because if you are just coaching from your ADHD experience, there's a danger that you would assume everyone's ADHD is like yours or your family's, and that the tried and tested methods that have worked for your family or for you are going to work for everyone else. Now, when you do coach training, we are taught, as you know, Sharon, to really get curious about the person and find out exactly what it is they need, never to make assumptions. Um, just because we know about ADHD. You don't know about that specific person's ADHD. So that is the danger of someone not having training, is that they will assume the ADHD is the same. And the second thing is that I would say 99, probably 100% of the ADHD coaches all have lived experience somewhere in their family of ADHD. So what we also train to do is park that so we can be present with our clients and not be triggered by the problems they bring, that we go, oh, I remember those days and I can't concentrate because it was such a terrible time. No, park that. I'm present with this client now.
Mm. And it's powerful stuff, isn't it? Like I love watching clients have those aha moments or realize some of their strengths and have those little moments. It's just it's amazing what ADHD coaches get to support their clients with and help them with.
It's extremely powerful because when you've got ADHD, and particularly if you're a parent with ADHD, you're on the go and you don't give yourself time to think through things. So having that wonderful gift of having that coach as a sounding board who can reflect to you something that you've said and query whether that is really true. Are you really a bad mother? You've just told me you're a bad mother 3 times. Let's look at why you believe that. Is that really true? To sort of unpack all the feelings that they have and all the thoughts that they're having is extremely powerful and very empowering.
Feels like breathing space. We're giving our problems a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of airtime.
Yeah.
So what should people look for? So we've given them the directory. What should they look for in an ADHD coach?
Great. So, coaches have different niches. So I remember when I first qualified, and I would go to the ICF in WA and they'd say, "Oh, lucky, you've got your niche. It's ADHD coaching." But really, there are so many niches within ADHD coaching. So if you think about what it is that you want, do you want support with your family? Well, then look at an ADHD coach who has experience working with families. Do you want a male or a female? Some people are very particular about a male or a female. Um, but look to see what their experience is and what their special interests are, and then book a discovery call with them to see if there is chemistry and if you think you could work with that person. Because there has to be rapport. You need to be able to really unload with this person and trust that it'll be a safe place for you to discuss absolutely anything you want to. And of course, make sure they're qualified, that they're on that list so that they're a member of the International Coaching Federation and have done their required training.
I think that's really, really good points. Now, tell me, can you give me an idea of some of the benefits of seeing an ADHD coach? Like what do people come to? What's some typical problems that people come to you for?
Yes. And can I just say one other thing before I go? They wanted to acknowledge you because you are so skilled in working with families. So this is you walking your talk and why it's so important. And I know that you will be studying the family coaching program. You could probably teach that program at ADCO, but it's you actually getting the qualification that you need. So I wanted to park that. And I wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh, thank you,
So
Michele.
no, really, it's important to know that when someone calls it is a qualified ADHD coach, they spend many hours and many dollars and practice and experience getting there. And your question, I think now has slipped my mind. What are
Oh,
some
no, that's
of
okay. So what are the benefits of seeing an ADHD coach?
Well, the first benefit is that you can put a pause in your life. You put a pause in your day or your week or your month, and you can sit and think with a clear mind about what's going on and develop some sort of plan of attack. Because with ADHD, there's very little pausing that happens, and life can become very reactive. So this is coming at me, I'll deal with it, and that's coming, then that's coming, then that's coming, and I'm not getting enough sleep, and exercise has gone out the window. So it actually, one of the things Nancy Ratey taught me was you've got to take time to make time. So that time that you carve out with your coach will reap so many benefits, help you to think clearly, to prioritize what you want to tackle, to pick your battles, to find things that work for you, to discard things that aren't working for you, to help you be more realistic about what you need to do, perhaps. And at the end of the day, to help you focus on what you're really good at and really capitalize on those strengths. So, and be a role model for your children.
I love that. So tell me, what's some examples of what people would see you for?
Okay. So if I think, first of all, along the family route, I had this wonderful mum who came to see me several years ago, and she set these goals of spending this amount of time with her children, going through their homework, making sure they read this every night, and she had these really tough goals that she wanted to achieve for herself. She was being very exacting on herself and very critical of herself as a mother. And after a couple of sessions, she said, tear that goal sheet up. I've got new goals. And her goals were, I know, to concentrate on the routines she needed to do, to choose where she needed to focus, and to spend time bonding with her children, to spend time identifying their strengths and helping them to actually utilize those strengths, and to identify what advocacy and how she could go to the school and advocate on behalf of her child instead of. So she made this total shift from the school's telling me I must do this, 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 and this, and my child's falling behind, to, well, I want to identify what my child needs and communicate that to the school. And I'm not critical of teachers. I think there are so many inspiring teachers there, but the curriculum authorities make it very hard for them to support neurodivergent children.
Now, you've done a lot of work in the advocacy space, and perhaps some of our listeners have even seen your name flown about, especially in the WA. Now, tell me a little bit about that. Like, since when you first started to now, what do you think has improved?
Okay. Well, what has improved? Firstly, there is in fact, there's a lot less stigma in some areas. When I first started, I would never encourage anyone to disclose their diagnosis in the media or anywhere, because you never knew how the media were going to treat you. And I had very bad experiences where they attacked two young adults that I put up for interviews. So these days, if you disclose that you've got ADHD, you're treated with respect, certainly in the public forum. There, it's starting to change in the workplace. People are still very reluctant because you can only disclose if you're in a psychologically safe workplace. But there is a lot of work being done there. In the schools, honestly, teachers don't get any training around ADHD. So but what has changed is teachers very proactively seeking out training. And at ADHD WA, we have a training program for teachers, and we have an online version too for people who are interstate. So there are teachers saying, "Tell us what to do." So there has been a lot of progress in that space, and there were a couple of very strong personalities who were totally anti ADHD who've really been quiet lately because no one's taking them seriously anymore.
Oh, I love this. Now, what do you say to people that are like, do those like little throwaway comments? Because I think ADHD is one of those diagnoses, now that we're talking about that stigma piece a little bit, where people feel like they can comment on it even if they don't know very much about it, right? So you'll get the gentleman in the supermarket that goes, "Oh, everyone has ADHD these days," or those little throwaway comments. "Oh, we didn't have ADHD back in my day." Um, what's your rebuttal?
Yeah. Well, I guess I would, first of all, it really depends on whether I'm feeling really fiery or not. But the first thing I would suggest is that people educate themselves about ADHD and tell them in the nicest possible way that that comment that is not an educated comment, and that they should really take the time to educate themselves, particularly if they have a family member or a friend with ADHD. In the case of the grumpy uncle who says, "Give me that kid for a day and sort them out," I'm sure people have heard my standard reply is, "Don't keep him for a day, Uncle Bob. Take him for a month and I'll keep the medication at home." So really, really educate people and let them know what your struggles are, and let them know that ADHD, when the symptoms of ADHD occur in a frequency and intensity that messes with your life, that's when a diagnosis is made, not just because you're just a little bit forgetful.
Yes, yes. So true. So tell me what your favorite part about being an ADHD coach is.
There is so much. They used to tease me at the ICF when I went to that, say, "Do you fall in love with all of your clients?" And I'd say, "Well, yes, I think I do." So my favorite part is the wonderful people I get to meet. You just never know who this person is. So taking that curiosity um, to when you speak to a client and finding out amazing stuff about them that you didn't know before, hearing these inspiring stories, and these amazing ideas that come out. So that's possibly one of my favorite things. And the second favorite thing is the total lack of judgment. Is that if you mess up, you never get any judgment from your clients. You'll always get, "That's okay, Michele. We know what it's like." So this total acceptance and kindness and tolerance of other people is something that I find quite inspiring.
I 100% agree with you on that. Like, I've never met anyone with ADHD that has been unforgiving when, like they really do have that compassionate side to them, don't they? Like they understand what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really inspiring, particularly since people with ADHD are so often judged by society. It's wonderful that they haven't developed that cynicism that they feel that they need to judge everyone in return.
I'm often in awe, like in our conversations with my clients, like just the way that their brain works. And I think, oh, I wish my brain would do that. Like some of the ideas that they come up with, I could only dream about. Their brains really are incredible.
Yeah, and also um, the ideas that people come up with, and the risks that they're prepared to take to achieve their dreams. If one of the things we do as coaches, we are the holder of people's dreams, because people have their dreams stolen all the time. "Oh, you're not capable of doing that. You never going to university. Oh, you can't do that kind of job." So when a client knows that their dream is safe with you, and you're going to help them take every small step towards that dream, to see the transformation that happens in people is just earth shattering. It really is. um, it really feels like a worthwhile day at the office every day.
Okay, now let's flip it. What is your least favorite part about being an ADHD coach?
Well, actually, my least favorite part about being an ADHD coach is hearing my clients say they're not good at anything, or there is, there's nothing for them, or, they don't have any gifts, they don't have any strengths, or also seeing them when they're with a partner who's not understanding or a boss who's not understanding. And I mean, I enjoy actually advocating for them and speaking on their behalf or explaining to their partner um, that they do care. It's just ADHD getting in the way. But sometimes your heart breaks a little bit um, with every sad story like that you hear, and that's why our training is to put that behind us, to be compassionate, be with our clients, know what we can do with them, because we know good for them if we're falling in a heap because of the sad stories that they have.
Agree. So
Mm.
I wonder if you, with all your your amazing experience that you very kindly share with us and support other coaches with, do you have one client that stands out to you that they've achieved something that you can share with us?
I have a couple of clients actually. So, because I've been doing this for a while now, I have one client that I'm ever so proud of. I started coaching her in primary school. It was an exception, but I was coaching her sister, and her mum talked me into starting with this young lady who was clearly very bright, not at all interested in school, but told me that she was going to be a doctor one day, and she certainly was smart enough. Anyway, long story short, she's now in second year of med school, and I'm coaching her through med school. I haven't coached her all of this time, she's come and gone. So that would be one of them. And then the other one is a young man who's about in his mid 20s now. I started coaching him in high school, just when he started high school. He has ADHD and dyslexia, and he came such a long way. He learned to advocate for himself, and he learned how he studied and what he did. He did an architecture degree and is now working in a grad program for a government department. But what happened was he was one of those people who we applied to use a computer in exams because of his dyslexia. And so you take a risk there, because if you decide to use a computer and you don't practice writing, the authorities can still say, sorry, no, you can't use a computer, you've got to write your exams. When we put in the application for year 12, they knocked it back and they said, and don't bother appealing. Well, did we ever appeal, his mum and I? He got permission. In fact, he was told that he would never go to university because of his poor English. He wrote his English exam on a computer, and it was the highest mark he got in his ATAR exams. Went on to do his master's in architecture. So I couldn't be prouder of him. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? I love that. And just having someone that they can, workshop their ideas with and strategies with, and also that accountability piece. How important is that accountability piece in coaching?
Oh, it's extremely important. And I just know from personal experience, if um, I'm seeing an exercise physiologist at the moment, and every week I have to see him. So I know I have to do my exercises. So having that accountability, but not being a nagging voice. So a coach is that accountability who will celebrate with you, who will cheer with you, but won't, you've got to be really careful not to be part of the nagging voice that people with ADHD hear all the time. I will often say to my clients, like, because often they'll have terrible problems getting to work on time. And I'll say to my client, tomorrow, when you get to work on time, text me, because I might be the only person in the whole world besides you who knows how difficult that was. And so it's that accountability with support and yeah, real acknowledgement for what's going on.
Yes, yes. It's accountability with a side of compassion, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, when we touched on before that you are my mentor, and so I'm sure for people who are listening at home, every ADHD coach that goes through ADCA goes through a mentor program. Can you tell me a little bit about, or tell the people at home a little bit about what a mentor does?
Definitely, yes. And mentoring is also part of the International Coaching Federation's requirements that when coaches start, they need to work under a mentor for a certain period of time. And then they can work with a mentor ongoing as much as they like. And I still work with a mentor coach and a coach. So the importance is, first of all, brainstorming any challenges. Um, as you would know, our relationship with a client is very confidential, but with mentoring, that confidentiality extends. So without mentioning a person's name, you could say, to your mentor coach, I'm having a struggle, unlocking this issue for my clients. So we will work on specific problems like that. We will also ensure that there's a bit of work-life balance, because most coaches I know really want to change the world. Every coach I know wants to change the world and will give too much of themselves. So we also check in to see that you're taking care of yourself so that you can be the best coach for your client and really hone your skills. With the client's permission, we could do a recording, and then you listen to a recording with your mentor to see what you can do differently.
Yes, it's such a valuable piece of information. And also just like, to have that support of someone who has been through it before that you can check in on if you come up against a situation that is a bit challenging or a little bit outside of your normal scope. Having that relationship with a senior coach to say like, hey, this is what's happening, and being able to workshop it together. Coaches need coaches.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Now, I just want to thank you so much for your time today, Michele. I've enjoyed our chat, and I think it's really great to be able to talk to our beautiful audience a little bit about what ADHD coaching is, what to look for in a coach, and to also share a little bit about your journey as well. It's been a truly inspirational one to watch, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future for this beautiful ADHD space.
Well, thank you, Sharon, and thank you for the wonderful work you do and your commitment to excellence and training. We're very lucky to have you, and I'm so glad people find you, because then they find their tribe in the functional family group.
Thank you so much, Michele.
See you then. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. If you loved it, please share it on your socials. I want this to start a conversation about ADHD. If you want to make this mum do a little happy dance, please leave a review on iTunes. If you would like to know more about what we do, check out thefunctionalfamily.com. I truly hope that you enjoyed this podcast and you use it to create a wonderful, effective, joyful life with your beautiful children.